Hello and welcome to How Do You Not Know This, a podcast inspired by the fact that on the way to a gig, I was chatting to my opening act,
Me.
the very funny Dom Hatton-Woods, and I realized that he does not know lots of basic things that I thought every human being knows.
Yeah.
So we started a podcast where myself and another comedian, I'm Daliso Chaponda, by the way, and another comedian,
Tony Vino.
Tony
Hello.
Vino, speak to this youngster, is he Gen X, Gen Z, what
we're,
is he?
We're Gen X.
We're
and
Gen X.
He's millennial. On the
You're
cusp
millennial?
of millennial,
Yeah.
aren't you?
99 though.
99. I mean, we're going to
99.
say, but then maybe for the first year you didn't try very hard. So let's go millennial.
Millennial. He's the Y2K bug, essentially. And so we very condescendingly, with the wisdom and crotchety perspective of age, talk about things which we think everybody should know. But by the way, even more so that he should know this because you went to a private school.
I did privately, £100,000, 100 bags.
100 grand. If you could trade that, you'd take it for a comprehensive.
I do a bit about it where I said you could have just given me the money. Yeah, I'd do it better, wouldn't it? I think if they'd sent me to, I don't know, another country for a bit, or like, I'd have learnt more.
But you see, that's always the thing that people think. It's like they think, either they would spend it on my education or they would give it to me. No. If they didn't spend on your education, they would have been on cruise ships.
That's true.
They would have been partying it up.
That's what I would have done.
So it's not. It never would have got to you.
Either way, it would have been spent better.
I don't reckon. I don't reckon the gap from comprehensive. It's not worth it. I don't think.
I think it is.
Yeah, but why?
It depends.
You also went to school in a completely different, place.
Or different country, different context, and it worked for you. You learnt this idea that, like, you guys at this international school, you're gonna change the world.
Have you gigged with the Oxbridge comedians?
Yes, yeah, I get you. So you're saying that same?
There's a reason they're on all the television channels.
Well,
and this is just comedy.
This
And
is
then if
comedy.
you go
Well, you
to a
think
doctor who's one of the Oxbridge people.
Well, you think they're better comedians?
They're more. Their head is full. Their head is full of stuff. Now, comedy is great in that you don't have to be a bookish comedian, right? You can be a Stephen Fry, or you can be what's his name? I'm just thinking of that comedian who's very working class and it's just experiences of his life.
Mickey Flanagan.
You can be Mickey Flanagan. Or you can be a Stephen Fry. But it's like it's a different kind of comedian.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm just saying, like, you definitely... I've done gigs with people where, like, you are way cleverer than me. I did a show with Alice Fraser. I've never felt so dumb in my life. This is one of the most intelligent people. And they were discussing... And I was just like, I think I'll sit this one out. Because she was debating with Andy Zoltzman. And both of these people are the most clever people.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Should I get you some tea? Do you want some tea?
So that's how I feel all the time.
And this tea is excellent, by the way,
thanks,
Tom.
man.
Yeah, you've done really well
Put
with
the
that.
time in it.
It is interesting when you feel out of your depth, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just in academic things. It's just when you're like, it's even like when I was hanging out with people who are musicians, and I remember they were these two young women. They're very attractive, but they were opera singers, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I like Charlotte Church, and they were just like, and they just started laying into me, and I was just like, I didn't know that my liking music is wrong.
But that's just you being nervous around attractive
Women,
women,
it
right?
literally was that they could have been big burly men. My point was, when you're into people who are connoisseurs, it's the same way, like, if people are with a bunch of comedians and they're like, I like Friends, there'll be a pretentious comedian who'll be like, or even like someone says they like a certain comedian. I just feel like sometimes you can feel out of your depth. The same way I said, can feel out of your depth when you're around people who are more intellectual.
Yeah.
It's just when someone's more of an expert of something.
That's it.
Like if I was with you and you were a bunch of your mates talking golf, and the only thing I know is Tiger Woods. Yeah, that's my entire knowledge of golf.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone has that in some area. They're probably.
There was once I decided my son Josiah was playing a thing called Fortnite with his friends, and I said, should I jump on with you guys? And I don't know if you've seen that footage of, where like killer whales will just get a seal and they'll flip it around and just played with it. And everything was so fast and so confusing. And even though they were all 12, I was like the child in the room.
I had the most humiliating version of that because myself and a comedian called Mickey D, we went to a hospice, right? And these are like 6-year-old, 7-year-old kids who have terminal illnesses. And so they have they had Wii, the computer, Nintendo Wii. And so Mickey and I, we whispered to each other, you know what, we should let them win, man. Come on, these kids are sick. We should let them win. I was like, yeah, of course we let them win. We could not have won if we wanted to. These little kids cleaned us out. It was so funny. And we were just like, oh, crap.
They were maybe they were like, we should really win this.
We should,
these guys coming in here.
Let these old
we can't get beaten
win.
by a bunch of old comedians,
But it's good.
So yeah, out of depth.
Out of depth. So pretty much every episode we ask Dom what does he know about things which we think most people should know.
Should know or will know.
And we find out what he knows, and if he doesn't know anything, we tell him about it.
Yeah.
So you tell me about it.
And then we flip it as well. And Dom educates us from something within your areas of expertise.
Yeah, last week it was Top Boy.
Top Boy. Yes.
Finished that now, so got more on that.
Fantastic.
Oh, speaking of what we are going to be talking about today.
Yeah.
Are you reading anything right now?
No. Well, listening, audio booking.
What are you audiobooking?
Does that count?
Yeah.
There's a book actually called it's called Men Who Hate Women.
Okay.
So
doesn't sound like.
Are you looking
it's not
for?
a novel,
are you looking for
some friends?
Like minds?
Yeah.
Just imagine. I'm just seeing the comment section under this podcast.
No, I'll tell you what it was. Is I don't know. It's good to see. I'm trying to see stuff.
But is it written by a woman?
It's written by a woman.
Right.
A hard feminist woman.
Yeah.
So a while ago, a woman told me about a book called Invisible Women.
Yeah.
It's about the same
kind
of thing. How apparently the world's built for men. So I bought it.
Oh, okay.
It's essentially just loads of facts. I'm not reading this before I go to bed. It's just like 0.1196%. I did learn one thing from it, actually, that apparently women go on a night... If a woman goes to like a comedy show or a theatre show, because the queue is so much longer for the toilets... They spend the time either watching the show or queuing for the toilets. They never get to actually hang out with their mates.
This is a big one, just generally across arts, culture, and the why don't we just make women's toilets double the size if we're gonna, so that qualitative experience changes? Yeah. And actually, you go and you stop and you go, flipping it, yeah. You look outside, particularly old theatres are the worst, like like the Palace in Manchester. You go and see a show and then you're like, man, the queue's massive.
True. Bigger than the queue to the show.
Yeah.
So if there's a queue to the toilet for me, I'll just go and piss outside. Generally.
This is very true.
Well, it depends where it is. No, generally I'll do.
So
I bought that. Too many facts. But then another comedian told me there's one called Men Who Hate Women. It's about this girl that goes into like incel communities and that.
Fantastic.
And researches it. So I've been listening to that, and then a book about Tiger Woods also.
So what have you learned on that? The Men Who Hate Women.
Well,
book? Anything jumped out at you?
She would like go on the incel Reddit forums.
Yeah.
And apparently there's men that like just kill. There's been men that have been just shot up a load of random women just because they hate women. And I figured it out. This is me figuring this out. Right.
Fantastic.
They don't hate women. These men that do whatever they do. They are very extreme versions of feeling rejection
Of
from
course.
women. And it's just they've been rejected. So what they've done is they've gone, I don't like being rejected. So what I'll do is I'll hate women and then I'm the one rejecting them. That's what's happening. It's just a very extreme version.
It's good for you to read because as a comedian, you're around high incel density.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot.
So that was interesting and then I also watched this show, I can't remember what it's called, but Stephen Graham was in it and it was about the EDL. Have you seen it?
Okay, right, yes.
And it was about a guy called Robin that joins the National Front. And he joins the National Front, but then the story is about how he wasn't actually racist. He just wanted to be part of a community.
There's
So I think
always
it's
a bit
kinda
of that.
similar to
There's always a bit of that of people who join these
lost
groups.
men that have been, not lucky with women throughout their life.
Right, well done.
I mean, that's putting a lot of the accountability on the women, but still, what I'm saying is they don't actually hate women, probably.
Well, the reason I asked you what you're reading is today is the book round.
Yeah.
Okay, which books, which most people have read by this age at school or just in life, have you read or at least know about? I mean, with some of them, there's some movie cheats in some cases, but first one, the easy one. Tell us what you know about Romeo and Juliet.
Very little. Love story, I guess.
Dang.
Shakespeare wrote it, didn't he?
Damn.
Boom.
He's killing it.
He's killing it. You just got another 42 of these to go. No. See if you can get... what country is it set in?
Rome? Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. It's Verona.
Verona,
Yeah,
very good.
Verona and Italy. Well done.
He does know this. Okay,
does.
anything else?
No.
What?
I just remember there's a scene where he throws rocks at a window. Is that right? Or
Yes.
stands
That's
outside.
the famous balcony scene.
Balcony scene, and then she comes on out.
Yeah, and I always thought to myself that wouldn't happen like that in real life.
Smash the window
Yeah.
or something like that, yeah.
That wouldn't help, would it?
And then he woos her.
Yeah.
And essentially...
Any phrases from it you can remember, like that are in the sort of zeitgeist?
No, I always thought that was too gay.
Do you remember... It's
It's the most
there's
heterosexual.
No, in school that was gay.
no, but I'm
Anyone-
saying it's got violence, action, romance. Do you know how it ends?
No.
Do you think?
Do you know? How do you remember?
Do you
this?
think they end up together?
Yes, I'd think that.
So they do. They get married, but they get married in secret because you've got the two families. Do you remember the Capulets, Montagues?
So yes. So actually, let's just give you the full summary. In this city, Verona, there are two families who hate each other. It's like literally Manchester, Liverpool.
Yeah.
Right? They hate each other to an extreme level,
Yeah.
and one of each side fall in love with each other.
At a ball. And Romeo's a bit of a player, though, isn't he? Because he likes a girl called Rosalind. wasn't it?
One other woman is not a player.
No,
I don't
he's
know what you
In
call
your
a player.
books, that
Back
is.
in the day,
Back in
that
the
was
day-
a total player.
No.
right?
You see, he thought he knew what love
Don't
was.
give me that.
'Cause
If
he had this
Rosalind
girl-
had gone with him.
We're going on a totally sidetrack. But he thought he was in love, and then he met Juliet,
'cause he
and he
was
was like,
at a ball.
this is
Yeah.
love. What I'm feeling now is love, because this is a lightning bolt compared to the little flare I had.
It was very, very quick to fall in love in those situations. So they're at a ball looking for Rosalind, finds Juliet, but he shouldn't be at the ball because it's the enemy family, and he's not really meant to be there.
Yeah.
They fall in love.
Fall in love.
They get married.
Yeah.
And also, while they're falling in love, the tension between their families is going up. One of them is killed. One of the family members of Romeo is killed. So it's escalating the fight between them, despite the fact that these two are
so the
falling in
families
love.
can't find out that they've eloped and got married. And then basically this priest comes up with an idea. How are you two going to be able to be together?
It's crackpot
What
priest.
a terrible idea.
Crackpot priest. He's like, I'm going to give you I'm not even remember exactly how it is, but he gives them a potion which makes you seem dead.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and he says it. He says it to Juliet. I'm going to give you this potion. It's going to make you look dead for a couple of days, and then your family will think you're dead. And I'll let Romeo know, right, that this is what's happening. Is that right? And then she has it. The message gets intercepted. It doesn't quite get to Romeo. He gets there. He thinks she's died, so he's full of anguish.
And he actually kills himself.
He goes out and gets poisoned, kills himself. She, guess what? She then lies
Wakes
next
up.
to her, wakes up, dead Romeo by her side.
She
and then
kills
kills
herself.
herself.
Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the last word of the play. Yeah.
And the only good thing is it teaches the family a lesson. Both families.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, they
And
both
the patriarchs
die.
of the family get together and say, "Look, we need to have peace now."
And this is meant to be like a masterpiece.
It is
isn't
a masterpiece because the poetry is amazing, the drama and the way it builds.
But how much of it now is, if you go and see a play, how much of it is actually what Shakespeare wrote?
It's exactly it. The script's
okay.
there.
He's dead, right?
It was a play.
He's dead, but the script's there,
Yeah.
right? And also, it's
people
one
not- are people-
of, but also, it's one of the most redone stories. There's West Side Story, right? There's The Brothers or something like. There's a lot of things. Anytime you come across, it's two families who hate each other and two people fall in love. That's all it's inspired by.
But are
Romeo
people
and
not
Juliet.
but editing the script at all?
The reason why Shakespeare is considered like the greatest dramatist is in terms of how efficient it was and how like it was like clockwork.
Yeah.
Every scene moves. There's no waste of
Fast.
time.
Not better than Breaking Bad, was it?
Well,
It was much
it was the
Have you
Breaking
seen
Bad.
Breaking Bad?
Do you know what? I watched the first
fuck off.
season, and then I got up to the bit where the lady in it choked on her own sick, and I was kind of
Yeah.
like, for me, this is that kind of. I don't like those sort of picture of Dorian Gray style concept series where basically it was the degeneration of the main character's personality, even though he ascended, within his network, it was the moral corrupt. And I just thought I could see where it was going, and I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I liked him at the beginning more than at the end.
Right.
I bet Vince Gilligan loves Shakespeare. People who are good at writing stories, it's one of the best places where you learn how to write a scene.
Yeah, he probably does, yeah.
Yeah. And it's also like, so it's a different generation.
And also the language, there's loads of sort of phrases in. Isn't there loads of phrases that we use, like star-crossed lovers and stuff like that? All that was invented in this play. It was very sort of archetypical. I mean, I thought we slightly undersold it to you because you look completely unimpressed. You went,
It is gangster.
Have you watched Breaking
It is
Bad?
gangster. Okay, there's a version.
Maybe I need to go and see it.
I'll tell you the one to see. There's a version which was done around, I think, early 90s with
Leonardo
DiCaprio.
It's a musical version, wasn't it?
There's no singing. It's just got guns and stuff.
What's that got to do with music?
No. I don't know where you put the songs in.
Was it not musical? Oh,
There's
fantastic.
no music. No. It's just, instead of swords and stuff, it's done with guns and stuff.
cool.
And it's done in ways
So it has been edited then?
not edited. It's the same script.
It's got guns.
So let's say
Directed, I suppose. Yeah.
you like Breaking Bad.
I do like Breaking
Let's
Bad.
say I take the exact script of Breaking Bad
Yeah.
and
Turn it into
but
a
it's
musical,
now-
just like I like. Yeah.
No, but that's
Everything's gotta be a
changing it.
musical.
That's changing. But we don't change the script. But it's now in the future and there's spaceships.
That'd be shit.
But I'm just saying that's what it is. It's a reinterpret. But the reason why it's reinterpreted is to make it easier for people to understand. So spaceships would make it harder to understand. But I'm just saying, for people who can't get all the old thing, it's just was modernized to make it easy for young people to be like, oh, that's cool.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So you did all right. So you knew the
That one you-
country.
that one you knew.
You knew that it was a romance. You hadn't quite got that it was a tragedy, but pretty good, Dom. Pretty
Yeah.
good. Right now, number two.
Number two.
Here we go. This
And you're
is one-
British.
And you're British. This will be so like literally. I'll say the kid's name
Yeah.
and the story. So we're talking Charles Dickens. It's Oliver Twist.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
is Oliver Twist?
As in, who's the actor?
No, what's the story?
What's the story?
He's an orphan. Boom.
He's an orphan. The gang killing
Wants
it.
more food.
Wants more food. Killing it.
Oh my goodness!
Yes.
The main line of the scene. You've smashed that.
You smashed
Please,
it.
sir, I can have more.
Please, sir, can I have some more? Yeah.
food.
Yes.
That's it.
Well,
That's a lot of the story. To be fair, that's a lot of
He's
the
an
story.
orphan that's hungry. That's it.
but the twist. It's interesting. His name is Twist, though. The twist in it is that he's not, he's not just a penniless orphan. He actually has a large inheritance.
Yes.
And he gets co-opted into this.
Hang on a minute.
Hello.
Was Shakespeare famous for Romeo and Juliet when he was alive?
Not just Romeo and Juliet, but for lots of plays.
So was he a legend alive?
A legend.
He had his
a
own
legend.
like.
He was there was a group of players, and he used to write plays for it, and he was like he was Vince
big.
Gilligan, man.
Right.
Vince Gilligan, yeah, he was the guy. I mean, he had the
Didn't
Globe
you meet Vince
Theatre.
Gilligan?
I auditioned for him.
He was not there though.
He was on a screen.
Oh,
There we
cool.
go.
So you've
But
seen
those-
him?
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
chalk it up as a
Were
meet.
you like, you're right, Vince?
I didn't get it.
Yeah, but were you like, you're right, Vince?
Yeah. I was excited, but I didn't get it. But it also means that when the show comes out, I don't think I'll be able to watch. That's the problem. When you don't get a role,
Yeah.
you get grumpy. When you watch it, you just like.
That's why I've not watched Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Leo.
So he joined a gang. Now, do you remember who,
Oliver Twist joined the gang.
of pickpockets.
Oh, right.
In London, and do you
They were
remember?
run by a guy called Fagin,
Yeah.
and there's a scene which I remember I loved as a kid, where he taught them how to pickpocket. But he walked in and he had all these like purses on him,
Yeah.
but they had bells,
Right.
and all of the kids had to try come and pickpocket it from without the bells ringing,
Wow.
right? Because if the bells ring, you're caught. And it was like this really cool. It was amazing because when you think about it, they're criminals and stuff, but it's written in this really adventure. This is really exciting. And one interesting thing is about it never came out as a book. It used to come out. Was it weekly or monthly?
Yeah, he started in a weekly story.
Weekly.
In
So
a
he would
newspaper, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Don't quote me. People may correct us, but it was either weekly or monthly.
Yeah.
Each chapter would come out.
Yeah.
And he was so popular, people used to desperately wait for the next one, right? You know, I guess it's like when the next episode of
when you used to
Game of
watch
Thrones
series.
is coming out, people are going out. People would be waiting. What is going to happen next in Oliver Twist?
And the whole thing was so Oliver. He gets into this gang of thieves, and there's a lot about fatherhood and or parenthood in that Fagin becomes like a fake father to him, but Fagin is a character who corrupts he's got this gang of children and he basically corrupts them, just turns them all into thieves, and basically Oliver is an uncorruptible child. So there's the whole thing about nature nurture. Is he, because he doesn't want to, doesn't want to steal, doesn't want to do bad things, and so he gets caught in this and gets injured, and then he gets looked after by a family. I'm just trying to think, what's the name? There was the Maley family, wasn't it? So Rose Maley was the lady who looks after, nurses him back to health, and then he stays with a true father character. Do you remember his name? Mr. Brownlow.
Yes.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, it's got a little bit of fairy tale in it.
Yeah.
In that he happens to be, he happens to, by luck, be delivered to a much better family.
He does, and the inheritance that he was born with, that was basically being taken away. And it turns out, and the twist is that Fagin was hired by a Mr. It's not Mr. Sykes. That's the guy, isn't it? By a Mr. Is it Mr. It is Mr. Sykes, isn't it? No. Anyway, he gets basically hired to disinherit. So basically Fagin was there hired to sort of keep Oliver Twist in his gang and basically get him in trouble in order that he doesn't get his inheritance. And then, but it's the whole rags to riches. There's a level of justice to it. he gets looked after by the father, and he inherits his wealth.
Nice.
But yeah, that one you remember.
You did well on that.
But you remember it from reading it, or do you remember it from watching it?
First from school, they made us. I don't think I've actually seen it.
Oh, you don't think you've seen it, but it was just around.
Is it a movie?
There are multiple
quite
movies.
a lot of movies.
There are multiple movies.
But
There's probably like 6 or 7 over the years. Probably 10 actually.
What's the best one?
They've done. I think the best one is they did one in the 80s. They did one in the 80s, which had as Fagin, it was this very famous English actor. I forget his name, but it was really good. The 80s one was really good. But there's so many versions.
But it's, part of the why is it stuck within, like, why is it a great piece of it? Obviously Dickens himself, but was good at creating these iconic novels. You think about A Christmas Carol and all that. But there's something about it was a commentary on the poor laws of the 1800s. That you had.
Yeah.
He was working in this workhouse and children that had no rights, and it was he had, through the literature, it kind of brought their plight to the common knowledge.
That's also one thing I liked about him, because a lot of the great literature is about kings and lords and ladies and stuff. But in Dickens, it's normal people.
Right.
Normal struggling people. Yeah.
Yeah. You did well with that one, Dom.
You did well.
Yeah, I knew that. So that's something from
2
the
out of 3.
£100,000.
We're going to have to change the name from "How do you not know this" to "How do you know this?"
How did you know that? We thought you'd forgot this. Yeah.
Okay, third one, last one. Okay. Again, as a Brit, you should know this. What do you know about Pride and Prejudice?
Oh, literally nothing.
Literally nothing?
Yeah. I don't.
Do you know who wrote it?
No.
Do you know what age, or like what sort of
Period of
what time?
No.
Okay. It's Jane Austen.
Oh yeah.
Do you know anything about Jane Austen? You've
heard
her name.
Heard the name, yeah.
Fantastic. That's great. I think you met her the other day, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, she was an extremely famous author. She's
Sexy lady.
I don't necessarily know that, but like she was considered one of the funniest, right, authors that there's ever been.
Yeah.
And she writes, the romantic comedy.
Yeah.
That is like a genre now, which we watch. Really, she is one of the best writers of a romantic comedy, because it's all her books, not just the one we mentioned. It's
totally
someone, and then there's usually the love interest, and then there's another person. It's like a love triangle, and then there's problems with wealth or problems to do with the person's character.
Yeah.
So the one we actually spoke of, Pride and Prejudice. Right.
So it's got we've got to say the most famous opening line of almost any novel.
Oh yes, it's very funny.
This is, and because it's funny, because it's kind of an ironic line, because the whole thing is about like 5 sisters that it's at the age of getting married, and it's all the sort of machinations of that. But it's beautiful. It goes, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Bang, and then it's like that. What a great line. Because you're just like, what's going on here? And it's kind of funny. It sets up the kind of trajectory of it.
Yeah.
And she put it out there. This is all about money, wealth, hierarchy. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And again, she initially hates the person. So in Pride and Prejudice, the main character, Elizabeth Bennet, meets a man who seems very pompous.
So what's the plot of this?
Yes. Okay. So young woman.
That's it.
Young woman, poor. I put poor, quote unquote.
Middle class. Yeah.
Middle class, but it's considered poor in the book. But they've got servants. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But poor. But because they can't work, they're all trying to find love, trying to be in
5 of the sisters
make the best of a situation, and she meets a man who's very wealthy, but he's also very pompous, seems to look down on everyone, and he's the pride. He's very pride and prejudicial of people and thinks badly of him. But as the story goes, by the end of the book, you realize that despite seeming pompous, he's noble, while there's another man who seems very seems like the perfect man, but it's all nonsense. Right? And you find out that he's actually the rake who's just using women. Right? So it's all about what's really integrity, what's really of value.
The pompous guy is called Mr. Darcy, and
and
the rake is Mr. Wickham, isn't he?
Yes.
Who's a soldier. So it's this revealing. It's like it's a long Nescafe advert. Will they? Won't they? It's like that's the tension, which seems like will they get married? Will they get together? Will the misinformation live out? But it's also the denouement, isn't it? That it ends with.
But it's also like, weapons. But again, it's a hard one to make you understand how good it is by describing the plot, because it's not really the plot. It's the characters, the dialogue, the jokes, it's how it's written. You know what I mean? Like because again, it's a very basic plot.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, she meets a guy, doesn't like him, ends up with him. But it's how it's done and the little, like, there's such funny characters in it. She's very good at having just weirdo, like an uncle who's just a little bit weird. Yeah. So
has anything been written like this recently that's been...
There are loads of them.
I mean, I suppose we just had the film come out of it.
What film?
What's the one... They've just had the remake where she's getting...
Oh, but I don't think he means... You don't mean a remake of...
I'm talking about... You're talking about...
Like Bridget Jones's Diary is almost like... not
it's
really,
inspired by... That's why his name's Darcy.
No, I'm saying that you're bringing up iconic...
And...
things. Has there been an iconic...
I think you don't know...
I mean, they said Oppenheimer was iconic, but I thought it was a bit shit.
But you don't know until 100 years from now. This is the whole thing. Like... If you go back to the 80s, right? There's stuff which people thought was going to last forever, and then it didn't, and then people still remember Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't necessarily know the one which will last, because there's so many years where they're like there was a thing called Crash, which won loads of Oscars and disappeared, and then the things which were out that year that people didn't get obsessed with. I think you never know what's going to be the classic.
I also guess that there's more competition now, and there's been more stuff made.
I mean,
there is
I think so, but I think there is at the same time. If we're going to guess what's still going to be read or watched in 100 years, okay, I'm guessing Harry Potter,
Game of Thrones, probably. Do you think as a piece of sci-fi literature?
No, if he finishes it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the books are astonishing. The TV show was astonishing and then ruined by the end because they didn't have anything. Yeah, so I don't know if in 100 years people will be like, hey, watch this thing which ends badly.
Is it still going?
No, essentially it ran for 7 seasons. For the first 5 seasons they were following the books.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 seasons, they were like, oops, we don't have anything. And they tried to write it.
Yeah.
And it just dropped.
They were ahead of the book.
Now, the author, he's older and it takes a lot of effort to write a book.
Yeah.
Right? And so people aren't sure if he's going to finish it. We hope he will. We hope he will. But, I think in terms of stuff in 100 years, that people are definitely going to
still maybe?
Friends, I think Friends will still be there.
Breaking Bad, I reckon.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, it is beloved. It is beloved.
Think of the amount of merch.
But do you think... My thing is also, do you think it will still be relevant to people in 100 years?
Well...
Because the reason I say Harry Potter is I feel like children's literature is that, we still watch or read Matilda or Roald Dahl. You know what I mean? Or children's literature is one of the things which really lasts.
And the famous 5 and stuff like that. So because it is also a snapshot into what we might, in 100 years, they might go, what an innocent time, and it kind of harkens back. Whereas stuff that is very contemporary.
Okay, we've got...
Top Boy's not going to make it in 100
here's
years.
my question. No. We've now got the power, okay?
Yeah.
Forget saying what logically will last,
Yeah.
okay? We've got the power to each nominate one thing which we're going to put into the time capsule.
Here we go.
And in 100 years, be it a book, music, anything, what is the one thing you would want? And you can't say my comedy, right? You can't say your thing, right? But I'm saying, what would you put in that we should still be, the grandchildren and great-grandchildren should still be, what piece of art should still last? What would you put in
I would
there?
say Breaking Bad.
You'd put in Breaking Bad?
And why would that be?
Because it taught me... Basically, the main character, Walter White, he's had a very boring life. He was almost a really big scientist, almost was a billionaire scientist, but abandoned that for some reason, and then wasn't. And now he's a science teacher. He's got a kid with cerebral palsy. He's got a wife that's pregnant with another kid. He can barely afford his life anyway. Yeah. And they're bringing a new kid into the world. And he gets diagnosed with cancer. Americans, they've got to pay for that. Mm-hmm. He can barely afford his life without cancer. Anyway, he hates his life. Very boring. Like most people do. Hate their life. Boring. Day-to-day. Stress. Working loads to get very little back. And then he finds something he's fucking amazing at. And he's...
Cooking meth.
Cooking meth. And he's very well respected. And people see him as like... He's a school teacher. The students don't listen to him. He answers to the head teacher who's 20 years younger than him. Right. And now he's the top of the fucking game.
So he finds this alternate world that he then becomes kingpin with.
And amongst really powerful, dangerous people.
Yeah.
But what's your point in that? That's what happens, yeah.
I'm getting there. So he's now the king of this world.
Yeah.
Right. And he loves that. He says he's doing it for his family, but he's having the best time ever. Anyway, but his issue is he's got his family. And he's got to hide it from them. And then at some point they find out he's got to do it without them getting hurt. And that holds him back. But what he actually wants in that time is to be the best meth seller. Yeah. So I learned from that family hold you back.
It's beautiful, man.
So
that's beautiful.
And I just learned, I think it's very difficult to be the best at something without having other commitments that all run smoothly, I think.
I like that.
What are you putting in?
So I'm just going to have to go with something that I'm very late to the game, but me and my wife, we're about season 2 or we're season 3. Yeah, we're coming up to we just started season 3 of Downton Abbey. Now I know that it doesn't.
You're
have
putting
those,
this that for hundreds of years people need to watch,
and I'll tell you why. Because tech and media and with the advent of AI, the proliferation of images and stories is going to just explode. There's going to be a sort of hyper explosion of everything. Right, so things are getting faster. It's like if you've had a massive meal. Watching Downton Abbey is in amongst everything else.
Downton Abbey.
It is like an Alka-Seltzer.
It is good. It is.
It just settles the stomach and says everything's going to be fine. Almost nothing happens every episode. Right. It's incredible. You can sit there and you can fall asleep for half a series and you haven't missed anything. And I think that is the best. Because otherwise, you missed 5 minutes and you're like, what happened? Oh, well, everybody got killed and they're all in an incestuous relationship now.
Serious?
It's like Downton Abbey is so slow. It's about the minutiae of little the
It sounds like a reason not to watch it.
Exactly, and I think that kind of discipline is lost nowadays. It's a weird one.
People love it.
They love it.
Like our friend Mel.
You're like a
she
devout
watches
Christian.
it all
you wouldn't
the time.
say like the Bible or something.
Oh, the
well,
Bible's
no,
safe.
but
The
we
Bible's
say-
going to be.
we
We're
say-
saying we're putting it in.
Right.
It's a piece
We're
of
not
art or
saying what
literature
we
because
think will. It's what we want to.
Radio 4, I'm going to say, you know, the Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare's going in there anyway.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but I mean, obviously you wouldn't. We could take Romeo and Juliet out because you think it's shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But in terms of like, you know, like a contemporary piece of art, Downton Abbey, I think is it itself is a time capsule of a time when you know, even in the social injustices of these huge estates and the aristocracy and the Granthams who own this huge estate, they own Downton Abbey, but it you know, there's the drama of the decay of the land and can they hold on to it, and three daughters and who will inherit it, and then it's a cousin Michael, and it's even things like cousin marriage. You know, you find yourself wanting.
You are
the
making
main
it a lot
protagonist to
deeper
come
than it
together
is.
again.
It's like it's literally.
Have you seen it?
It's a
Chewing gum
bunch
for
of
the
yes, I
eyes,
have.
yeah.
It's a bunch of rich people falling in love with each other.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And the servants falling in love
and
with
the
each other.
servants
Come on,
fall in
don't be
love with each
elitist.
other. It's like it's a soap opera, but
They know love too.
but it's very exquisitely done with some good actors.
Yeah.
But Downton Abbey.
It's going in, man.
Anyway, no judgment. No judgment. We put
Oh, yeah, I
we
can tell
put
from your tone.
Downton Abbey into the pot. You guys went with TV shows. I'm going with a book.
Oh, nice.
Okay, I'm putting Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh, yeah,
mate.
nice. That's probably. I'd say that was a guarantee. Would you not? It's been
I
around for
hope
ages.
so. I hope so. But I'm just saying I am putting it in. I think everyone needs to read it, right? I think if you're listening to this podcast and you've not listened to it, it is a life-changing thing. Just the summary is it's about a psychologist. It's a true story. He's a psychologist who was in a concentration camp. And while he was in there, he started to think about things which we thought about psychology, which clearly weren't true. So the very way that people used to think is that people are selfish and everything we do is just motivated by get the most food, get the most sex, just like that was our prime motivator. But what he noticed in a concentration camp, in the worst situation one could ever be, where people were being tortured and desperate, the people who were doing better weren't the ones who were getting as much resources for themselves. It was the ones who were like trying to help children. It was the ones who was trying to have, and he started to see that, oh, we need basics, but we need meaning more.
There's a level of meaning, but also those that didn't give up. There was this beautiful bit in there. Do you remember that where he started to see? So there was a fire that was set in the dorm at night, and people would sleep around it. But it's saying, in order to regulate temperature, if you slept too close to the fire, the difference between how warm you were when the fire was on and then the freezing cold in the morning meant that it was counterproductive. It was deleterious to your physical health. And he said people knew that, but some people just gave up, and just for the kind of initial comfort of being near the fire, they'd fall asleep next to the fire. But it was actually, and he was like, the idea of just holding on through the tragedy and making a decision. Incredible.
And that book, I think, is magnificent. I'm glad you say you think it's a given, but I think most people don't know about it.
Right?
Yeah, but most people don't know about it.
No,
so I'm saying that's a book I would...
I think people that are curious about the world know about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm just saying that would be mine that I hope in 100 years is still being read.
So have you read that one, Dom?
I tried. It's very complex.
It's
I might
very
try
short.
again.
It's
I
very
know,
simple.
but it's very difficult to follow when you're stupid.
I don't think so. Give it another shot.
I'll give it. I've got it
another shot.
upstairs.
Give it another shot.
It's not on Audible. It's a shame.
It's also a book which I never get to keep it because I buy it and then I'll be talking to someone and I'll say, hey, read this. And
You're
then
good
I'll
at
buy
that.
it again and then I'll run into someone else who needs to read. I'll be like, read this. I've given that book around 7 times away.
Well, actually, my old boss, my first ever boss, was a very curious man, and he was very giving to his staff. And he gave me a book on my first day. Yeah. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which at the time was quite insulting. Because I didn't know it was. I was 16. I was like, all right, mate. And then he gave me Man's Search for Meaning at one time.
Did he? Right.
It's good.
Daliso gave me a book once, which is possibly the best book.
Pillars.
Pillars of the Earth is a good book. That's good. But Shantaram.
Amazing.
Oh man, Dom, you're gonna have to read it.
It's very big though.
Gripping
very
story.
Thick. It's
about,
too thick. I would have given it to you. It's
right.
good, but it's too thick.
Yeah.
Maybe has it come out as a box set yet? Or have you ever
Audiobook.
made it?
I'm too thick.
Audiobook of
thick book.
Shantaram.
Yeah. I probably won't do
at
that.
triple
maybe.
speed. Yeah.
Triple speed. Because you'll be listening for the whole year.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
Now,
Well, good.
Dom, it's your turn. Before we,
of course,
give us something that you think we might not be aware of, and that we need to become aware.
Well, actually,
more
this
of.
is more of a public announcement.
Oh.
I've been in
Well,
London
we're part of the public.
this week,
Yes.
and I think the way that people are acting on public transport is getting worse and worse by the day.
Okay, so what
I'm
did you
outnumbered.
witness? What did you see?
Well, first of all, on the bus way there, 5-hour bus, right?
Yeah.
We're all in this together. No one wants to be on that bus, do they?
Yes.
You
No.
will ever be on the train.
Yeah.
You're there because it's £3 cheaper. That's how little we value our time, right? And bloke FaceTiming, just
Yes. I
Thing
do.
is, I think if
Shouting
we're
out
if
because
we're on a,
everyone that is rude.
even
isn't it?
thing is,
Yeah.
even if we're on a bus, if me and you are on a bus, this
Yes.
is inappropriate. Like, oh, how you doing, Tony, mate? How's it going? Not you, all right, Tony? How's
yeah.
your? It's like, hang
There's
on
a
minute.
level of decibels, and also if you're
Yes.
FaceTiming, you've at least got to be just in the and
also,
keeping it quiet.
also, people who don't use earphones drive me
Well,
crazy.
that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I think even a phone call on a bus. Yeah, I'll be. It's
normally you've got to say, just let you know I'm on a bus. We'll keep it short.
Yeah.
Is
but,
that not a given now?
I mean, no, clearly not. And I'll tell you what,
crazy.
Tony. So I've made it my. I don't think I can offer much to this world. 3 GCSEs, do stat. I'm not changing one, but I'm telling these people. I'm saying you're being rude, mate. Please, can you turn it down?
Do you do it?
Well,
I did it.
You did do it.
I
And
did
what
it.
did they?
So I did it to that guy, and that guy went, "Oh, sorry, mate." And no worries. When I sat back down, and then I was on the train from the way to Hempstead to central London to stay with my friend, and there was a 17-year-old kid, right? And I thought, this is a risk. Probably around 70. He was definitely a kid. And I
What
went,
was he doing?
TikToks. Out
okay.
loud, no headphones. And I went, mate, it's quite rude. Have you not got headphones? Do you want? I can't afford headphones. I went, well, you can, can't you? You can afford. You don't know my financial situation. I went, yeah, but everyone can afford headphones.
Yeah.
They're like £1, aren't they? Probably.
Yeah, exactly. $5 at worst.
Anyway,
yeah.
and then he went, you're a nonce. And I went, oh, shit.
Slam.
How did you
He's
know?
outed you. Yeah, look at that.
It's just like, there's nothing I can... Because if I go, I'm not a
Yeah.
nonce...
Yeah.
Then everyone else on the bus is going to hear that. And that's not... Anyway, and then him and his girlfriend, who was also his age, get off. And she goes, stop filming me, you nonce.
It's so interesting that's
where
the
they
defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it is,
They know.
The thing is, that's door shut.
Oh, it's very clever,
I
isn't
can't
it?
compete with that, can I?
No,
Very
I mean,
clever.
Yeah, in some ways, diabolically clever. You're good on him, but
I can't.
did
win.
they stop listening though?
He went to another carriage and then
Okay.
said that on the way out. So he made an effort to come back through where I was. But what I'm saying is, I was on the train and literally, I think there was more people watching TikToks out loud, which is the worst because it's a constant different change of noise. Music. One girl on the train just had her phone in her hand with music playing. It's like as if she's so my music taste is so good. The whole of this bus want to hear it.
You all need to have this.
Yeah. But so what I'm saying is like there's so many people now on the bus doing it. I reckon there's more doing it than not doing it. I think I'm outnumbered.
Yeah, because that was it.
Wow.
Because I would change carriage. And then it's the same thing.
It's the same
Never
thing.
carriage.
Because it would have been that maybe if there was one outlier doing it, but then once that because in every
Sets it
situation in
off,
life you
right?
get leaders, and so they are then leading in that kind
But
of
I'll tell you, it's
disruptive-
interesting. It's interesting that that's happening on the buses. It's not happening on the trains.
No, it is. It
is.
definitely is. Yeah,
Oh, it's still on the
Definitely
trains.
happening on
Okay.
the train.
I've not experienced it
Maybe
as
I'm
much
just
on the
in
trains, yeah.
carriages which...
Well, first class, mate. Yeah.
But like, and then I was at the gym just a minute
Yeah.
ago, and there's in the Pure Gym in Stretford. There's one platform to deadlift on, and one guy was on it. He was on a phone call for like 20 minutes. It's like you're stopping other people from being on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are almost getting into their own world, aren't they? So they're there, but they're not there. He's in the gym. Deadlifting. That's, by the way, that's
I know
lifting where
I know what it is. Yeah.
pick up dead bodies, and basically, but he's not there because he's phoning somewhere else, and
he's just using the
space,
biggest piece of equipment where there's only one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, people have got. I'm a selfish person but I'm considerate of other people in those. I don't want to ruin someone else's time,
But yeah, how do we? But also, where's the consent? These things like the consensus for these social norms, like, because you would think that would be, don't have your phone on loud so that everyone else so that's noise.
But it's almost like
maybe that's not anymore. Maybe that's
it's almost like consideration for everyone else is something which you're meant to learn, but it's something we opt into. It's like politeness is what we opt into. We choose to opt into. But it's also possible to just be like, no, I'm not opting in.
Yeah. I think that should be part of, like, when you apply to, like, be a citizen of Britain. It should be like, if you're on a train and you don't have headphones, what do you do? And it says, listen to it still, or just don't listen to it. That should be a question. Yeah. And you're not allowed in if you would listen to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't care what you bring into in terms of
money.
That would be
better. That would be better.
That should be on the thing.
It's on a citizenship also, but also if you're allowed to become an adult at 18, if you're allowed to stay in the UK,
You've
just finished a bag of crisps. What do you do with the packet?
I actually think instead of the citizenship test, and I'm someone who did the citizenship test, they should hire people to spy and follow you secretly for a week and decide whether you're a good person.
But I have really dark thoughts about the people doing it.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting to it. So what
I just decide they're the worst person to have ever. I think you're an absolute horrible piece of shit, and you don't deserve to be on this earth.
Is that the extent of your dark thoughts?
And then they get off and I go off.
That's not a dark thought. I thought I think about shooting them.
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, you do.
But then, like, sometimes, like, I think I'm a man where if I said to another guy, stop doing that, there's a level of intimidation because I'm a normal sized man. But then still there's a level that guy could hit me. Do you know what I mean? So it's I am opening the door for confrontation in that. So obviously saying it's a 17-year-old kid was fine. All he's got on.
So if it was a massive hench guy, tattoos.
Well, I mean,
I weirdly find it easier to approach people who are bigger and more intimidating, because I think, like, generally the people who attack you. I was talking to Nabil about this, because comedian Nabil, he was talking about how in prison, the people you don't want to mess with are the little ones.
Yeah.
Big guy knows how dangerous he is. He's only going to get into it if it's a real, like,
because
you know what I mean?
Stakes are higher, aren't
Stakes
they?
are higher.
Yeah.
But it's the little guy. We're like, hey, can you turn that off? He flings it at you.
But yeah, I just think I think we're losing it, man, and I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
And it's
interesting.
But even the bus driver on the bus, they do say, "Don't do this." They say
So do people listen?
But people don't listen, and I don't know how we change it.
Do we get, just to wrap up? Should we tell the audience? You should, wherever you're watching this, if you're listening to this clip online, put in the chat what you think the solution is to make people more decent to each other.
Yeah.
We need an email or something where people can send us feedback.
Maybe with the way technology's going, there will be a way where you can't. It'll
well,
be like
just that's it.
You're on a bus, you cannot. It won't do it for you. That would be good. Elon Musk needs to work on that.
Oh, you mean like when you go to a show and they put your phone in a sleeve?
No, I mean like the phone physically, it knows you're on a bus and it will not play.
Oh, it will not play stuff.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
It's
like, no.
No, I think the technology would be in the bus.
Yeah.
Right? It's because
a jammer.
When you go into certain government buildings in other countries, your phone can't pick up the internet.
Yeah.
Right. So there's something going on. So
yeah.
But I think as well, the other thing is there's kids. The other thing is there's little kids. They might be on their parents' iPad or phone playing a game, and they'll have it out loud. And then you're thinking, well, that's annoying because they generally have it really loud. But then they're a baby, aren't they? It's on the parent.
And then,
innit?
but then the kid's going to be more annoying if they're not playing
But
on
wait,
that
just
iPad.
to put you. But you feel like all transport should be in exquisite silence, like a library.
No one want. Yeah, it should be.
But
you can have.
But
a
where
low-
was that agreement? Where was it agreed that we need exquisite silence everywhere?
I think even if you're on the quiet carriage, people still sometimes. I think every carriage is a quiet carriage.
I think it's irritating sometimes, but I think it's part of living with other human beings.
Yeah, but other human beings should be more considerate. It's just like you don't need. And a lot of these people, I reckon they've got headphones in their bag. They're just choosing not to. I saw one guy, right? And generally, this is not racist, but generally, the people that are on FaceTime, it's never in English, I found.
Okay,
and
that's very racist.
No,
That's not racist. But it's all bloody fun.
no, but I figured it out. This is because that...
Anyway, we'll end the podcast there on that bombshell.
Because, right? I figured out this is because they're probably FaceTiming their mum in another country.
Okay.
Because otherwise, and that's because they've got that hour where they're both awake, right? Because of time difference.
Send them back where they came from.
They've got that. No, look, I've set up this rule where you can come in, but you've got to agree not to do this. So that's my. Yeah, I'm losing this. They're allowed to. They're probably FaceTiming a family member in another country, time difference.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was on the tube to London. Spanish bloke, right? I think can't speak Spanish, but it sounded Spanish. He was on his FaceTime, right? Really annoying, packed out tram.
Just a warning, he's Spanish.
He's Spanish.
Okay, just so you know, keep going.
He puts his bag
Let
down.
me just face my dad and tell him I can't believe you're saying this.
Oh, you're Spanish.
Yeah.
He's
right.
Spanish, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Anyway, so he puts his bag down. I thought, he's getting headphones out. Good for him. Gets headphones out. Puts them in his pocket. Carries on. Hang on a minute.
Again, look, I was on your side that it's mildly irritating, but like your reaction is way more like
It irritates me. My dream would to be like the Saw of this, where you take people and talk.
It's a difficult one because it's
and lock
also
them in
just
a room to that.
no, but like living with other human beings is gonna have some things.
Yeah, but
No, I'll give you a perfect example. Like, if you go to Switzerland,
yeah,
right?
I've been.
There are sound laws.
Yeah.
There are laws against litter.
Yeah.
And things like that. Do you think that's perfect? I
Yes.
remember it was a very
man.
sanitized place, and I was like, "This is not." It didn't
No.
feel human.
I'm with Daliso on that. Like once you start legislating for things, like it is inconsiderate, but
It's very
once you
inconsiderate.
start creating laws and all that around it, it's like, oh man, you should turn
Proof.
off TikTok.
So I was living in Ferney-Voltaire, which is across the border from Switzerland.
Oh, really?
At around 7:00 on weekends, there would be a huge exodus from Switzerland
Yeah.
of young people
Yeah.
on motorcycles and stuff like that to France to party
Right.
because they couldn't have a fun party in Switzerland. So they would cross the border and go nuts, and then the next morning go back over the
They'd
border.
go on the train and they'd be on TikTok all the time, having it loud on the way there.
Not going. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
Well,
Let's
right.
go.
tune into next.
Tune into the
time,
next.
and we'll hear more.
How
of
did you not
Dom's-
know this? What we did not know is that Dom is borderline Farage.
Yeah. 2 Gen Xers and a racist. That's we've changed the podcast now.
All right.
Excellent.
See you in a bit.
Cheers.